Okay, morning boys. We are going to be looking at the third and final in the trigonometry series, trigonometry 3. So we're finding missing sides this time. In the last video we were looking at finding missing angles. Okay, so we're going to rewrite the trigonometric mnemonic, SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so remember that's a way to remember the trigonometric ratios. So here's the first question. We've got this triangle, and the question is, find x to three significant figures. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is label the sides. Okay, so if we look at the side which is opposite 35, that's obviously the opposite side. The side that's next to 35, which is not the hypotenuse, is the adjacent side. And there is the hypotenuse. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to write our trigonometric ratio. So, since we've got the opposite and the adjacent in the question, and we're not using the hypotenuse, we're going to be using TOA. So, tan is opposite over adjacent. So, tan of, well, it's no longer theta, it's tan of 35. Tan of 35 is equal to the opposite, 10, divided by the adjacent x. Okay, so we've set up an equation using the trigonometric ratio tan. So all we need to do now is rearrange this equation to make x the subject. Okay, so what could we do first? You could pause the video now and see if you could make x the subject yourself, and see if you agree with my answer at the end. So pause the video. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is multiply both sides by x. So if you multiply the right hand side by x, then you're just left with 10. If you multiply the left hand side by x, you'll be left with x tan x. Or, sorry, x tan 35. So x tan 35 is equal to 10. And now what could you do? Well, you could divide both sides by tan 35. Now, tan 35 is something on its own. You can't divide by tan and you can't divide by 35. You have to divide by tan 35. So if you divide by tan 35, you're left with x is equal to 10 over tan 35. So the goal was to make x the subject. So I have made x the subject. Now all that's left to do is to put this in your calculator, 10 divided by tan 35. Make sure your calculator is set to degrees, and you'll get 13.8 to three significant figures. So that's 13.8 meters. Okay, so that means that x in that question is 13.8 meters. Cool. So we're going to do one more question. Hopefully I'll get under the 5-minute mark. So this is the triangle. This angle is 72 degrees. This side is called x, and this one is 20. So the question again is find x to three significant figures. Now this is actually an easier problem than the previous one, just very slightly easier. So the first thing you're going to do is label the sides. So could you pause the video now, and on your notes label the sides. You're going to label one side the opposite side, one side the adjacent side, and one side the hypotenuse. Pause it. Okay. So this is the opposite side, since it's opposite 72. This is the hypotenuse, so this must be the adjacent side. Since we've got the opposite and hypotenuse, the trigonometric ratio we're going to be using is sine. Okay? The adjacent side is not used in this question. So, could you write down the trigonometric equation like we did in example 1? So write down the trigonometric equation like we did in example 1. You should pause the video and do that now. Okay, so sine 72 then is equal to the opposite x divided by 20, the hypotenuse. So we need to make x the subject and then put that in our calculator and find the answer. So pause the video and make x the subject. Okay, so to make x the subject you multiply both sides by 20. So on the left hand side you'll have 20 sine 72 is equal to x. So x is the subject. This was slightly easier than the previous question. Put 20 sine 72 in your calculator, and you get 19.0 to 3 significant figures. So that means that the opposite side is 19 meters, basically, or 19 whatever it is. So the key points to remember from this video. Label the sides. Okay, so label the sides opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Decide which trigonometric ratio to use, and rearrange to find x. That's it. That's all you have to do when you're finding missing sides. Okay, just over 5 minutes. Thanks for watching. See you soon.